This live presentation was produced in Ashland, Oregon by the Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library and Event Center. Our VML relies on the support of our volunteers, members, and donors to organize and present these programs. For more information about this presentation, or to borrow, download, or purchase other recordings from our catalog, please visit our website at rvml.org.
Thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you for bringing your hearts. So let's take a moment to open those hearts so that we can heal with love tonight. So you've had a busy day, many of you, and now you're here. There's really nothing to do, but just be here for now. So if you would, let's fully arrive and be present. Just gently close your eyes and allow yourself to finally begin to relax here, settling into the chair. And as many of you know, one of the best ways to relax and come into the present moment is simply to become aware of your breath. Just become aware that when you're breathing in, and when you're breathing out, you're breathing out. And if other thoughts or feelings or sensations come to mind, just gently but firmly bring your awareness back to your breath. And as you're breathing in and out, just sense or imagine that you're breathing in and out as if through the center of your chest, your heart space. As you're continuing to breathe in and out through your heart space, recall a wonderful heart-opening experience that you had. An experience in which perhaps you felt feelings of love or joy or deep inner peace, or a sense of flow in the moment, a sense of oneness or wonderment, a time when you felt really, really good as you continue to breathe in and out through the center of your chest. Now become aware of a gift that's gracing your life in this moment. Perhaps it's someone or something you love or care about. Perhaps it's simply the gift of life itself. Perhaps it's simply being alive and aware here and now. Just allow yourself to feel the love or the care, the gratitude, as you continue to breathe in and out through the center of your chest. Now take a deep breath in through the center of your chest and hold it for a moment. And as you release your breath, feel this heartfelt energy just radiating throughout your entire body. Feel the aliveness. Feel the vibrancy of your inner energy body. When loving awareness flows through the heart, it shifts the vibration of the inner energy body into harmony with our essential nature, with the truth of who we really are and the truth of what is. So it's love that links form and essence. It's love that links our physical body with our inner energy body, and our inner energy body with our spiritual essence. It's love that links matter with energy and energy with spirit. This is what the Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh had to say about the loving aware presence, which is our essential nature. He said, "A wave on the ocean has a beginning and an end, a birth and a death. But the Heart Sutra tells us the wave is empty. The wave is full of water, but it's empty of a separate self. A wave is a form that has been made possible thanks to the existence of wind and water. If a wave only sees its form with its beginning and end, it will be afraid of birth and death. But if the wave sees that it is water, identifies itself with the water, then it will be emancipated from birth and death. Each wave is born and is going to die, but the water is free from birth and death." So each of us here, in a sense, is like a wave. A wave on the surface of the ocean of awareness. And we appear to be separate. We appear to be separate. And that sense of separation is, and the Buddhists were well aware of this, that sense of separation is what creates suffering, distress, illness, disharmony. So tonight, we'll be looking at what it is that veils us from our essential nature, from that inner light that is who we truly are, the awareness itself. We've got a lot of cell phones here. When the awareness became aware of itself, a frequency called consciousness was created. Awareness aware of itself was consciousness. When this awareness interacted with itself, the first form, I am, it created all the other forms. It created what we, as we look out at one another, see the form, the apparent separation of form. When I started working in my practice, I was an obstetrician gynecologist and had a revelation that my work was to heal with love. That's a story that I won't get into, but I had a very busy practice in San Francisco. And as I worked with patients, I came to realize that this sense of separation, since it's an apparency, because the truth is that there's only one, there's only wholeness. Since that's the truth, it must take an enormous amount of energy to maintain the illusion of separation. And if we could release all this energy that was bound up in the illusion of separation, this energy could then be directed, focused by intention, supplemented by breath, to facilitate the healing process. And from that, I developed what I called holoenergetic healing. Holos is the Greek word for whole or entire. So holoenergetic healing is healing with the energy of the whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. And it's a four-part process. It's a process of transformation and the potential for transcendence. And tonight we'll have an opportunity. I won't be talking that much tonight. This will be an experiential evening. But tonight we'll have an opportunity to directly experience this process. While I was introduced as providing information about holoenergetic healing, I'd rather not get into conceptual things tonight. I'd rather this be an experiential process. But just to give you a brief overview of holoenergetic healing, as I started to do healing work, I recognized that there are three forms of energetic change. One I call translation, shifting energy from one place in the body-mind, to another place which is more useful or effective, but not necessarily increasing the amount of energy that's available. And certain massage therapies do that. Acupuncture does that. A lot of allopathic medicine and pharmaceuticals also do that. They shift energy that was blocked one place, the blockages are released, the energy starts to flow. But it doesn't necessarily increase the amount of energy. Then another form of energetic change is transformation, a change in the form itself. On a deeper level, what this means is changing the structure of consciousness itself, so that the reality, the worldview of the person who undergoes transformation shifts. And it has to be an enduring change. And then finally, transcendence, in which you actually transcend identification with the form itself. The form no longer matters. So those are the three forms of what I call energetic change. And holoenergetic healing focuses on transformation, and there are 4 steps to the transformational process. And this is true for many transformational processes, not only holoenergetic healing, but many transformational processes. The steps, I'll present them in a linear fashion, but they don't necessarily take place in a linear fashion. The first step is to recognize that you want to change and what it is that you want to change. And you recognize that in 2 ways. One is through rationally processing and knowing it, and the other way is intuitively. And we'll be doing the tracing process tonight, and it'll be focused mainly on the intuitive sense of knowing. The second step is to resonate with what it is that you want to change instead of denying it, disowning it, projecting it out onto others. You need to resonate with it. You need to vibrate at the same frequency as it. You need to feel it, sense it, think about it. And then the third step is to release after you've understood it, because when you start to resonate with it, you go back to the source or the core issue or the incident, and sometimes that means going back to the womb. But you go back to the core source of this process or problem. It could even be a past life. It could be something that was karmic. It could be a collective consciousness process, the fact that you're part of the human condition. But most commonly, it's in early childhood. So you resonate with it. You come to understand, as best you can, where this was sourced from. Certain beliefs were established from an interpretation that you made about what happened, or what did happen, or what appeared to happen. So you come into resonance, and you come to understand it, and then you release the form that no longer serves. At one time, it may have been valuable, that form, and all the concomitants associated with it, the beliefs that you have, the decisions that were made at that time. Common belief, I'm not good enough. I'm not okay the way I am. It's a common belief. One variation or another on that. And of course, that creates a sense of separation from a part of yourself, separation from others, separation from your world, the environment, and most importantly, a sense of separation from your essential nature, from the truth of who you are. And then finally, the fourth step, after releasing the form that no longer serves, is to reform the form. Bring in another energy formation that resonates with and is in alignment with your essential nature. So I call them the 4 R's: recognize, resonate, release, and reform. And what this creates, when you do this effectively, is an enduring change in the structure of consciousness. So how do we go about doing this? First thing we have to do, recognize that we want to change and what it is that we want to change. Now, I usually ask people 5 questions. Tonight, I'll ask you only the first question. But the 5 questions are, as I say, what is it that you want to change? Why do you want to change now? What's prompting you to change now? How do you see yourself contributing to the present circumstance that you want to change? In other words, what are you doing to perpetuate this problem or issue? And then, what is this issue giving you? How does having this provide you with a gift? In other words, what is the secondary gain from having this? What does this allow you to be, to do, and to have? What, then the second part of that, the converse, is what does this keep you from being, from doing, and having? This is an important question because here we attune to the resistance to allowing healing to occur. So it's a very important question. And then finally, what outcome and inner experience do you really want? So those are the 5 questions. But the most important question for us tonight, and I mention this again because I'll be asking you to think about it in a moment, is what is a problem or an issue for you that you want to change and heal tonight? It could be physical, it could be an emotional or energetic problem, it could be a mental issue like a series of beliefs or decisions or whatever. It could be a spiritual problem or issue. Sometimes people say, well, what's a spiritual problem or issue that you want? One could be the belief that you need to do more than just be here now to be fully awake and aware and fully realized, right here, right now. You might want to look at that belief. That's a spiritual issue. But for most people, they'll be focusing on some problem in their lives, some problem. And that's what I'm going to be asking you to look at. You can hold it in mind. It's a simple thing, but here's what's important about this. If, for example, you have a pain in your leg, now what would the answer when I ask you, to hold in mind what it is you want to change from and heal? You say, I want the pain in my leg to disappear. That's not the answer to the first question. That's the answer to the last question. What outcome and inner experience do you want? The answer to the first question is the pain in my leg. Now that's very important because that will target for us resonantly as a vibration the whole process. So I'm going to emphasize this again. What I ask you to hold in mind is the issue, the symptom, the problem, the circumstance that is problematic, that is not okay. And by the way, I'll ask you to hold questions until after the break, unless there's something procedural that you don't understand, in which case certainly raise your hand and we'll address it. But otherwise, hold questions until after the break and we'll have time to explore that. So if you would, maybe close your eyes for a moment so that you can be clear as possible about what it is that you're choosing to work on. And some people may say, well, does this have to be like the big problem of my life? or can it be a small problem? It could be a hangnail. In a sense, it doesn't matter because, see, we live in a multidimensional holographic reality, and whatever it is that you focus on is a part of the whole. And as you may recall, the nature of a hologram is that it contains, any part of the hologram contains the whole within it. So whatever it is we focus on will reveal the whole and all of the significant issues. So in a sense, it doesn't matter that much what you choose or what you pick, because this will do its magic no matter what. Okay, so now we're clear about the issue, the problem, not the outcome, but the issue of the problem. Good. Then there are a few things that I have to mention before we begin with the process. And once we begin the process, it'll be about 35 minutes and then we'll take a break. So I'm just letting you know that in advance. This is called a tracing process. And as I start the process, I'll ask you to bring to mind the answer to the first question, which you've just processed yourself here. What it is you want to change from and heal. And then I'll ask you if you're really willing to allow healing to occur tonight. And I ask you to answer that question as honestly as you can. Because if the answer is no, I really honor that. I found that when someone is honest enough to say, no, I'm not really willing to allow healing to occur tonight, when a time comes that they do choose to allow healing to occur, the healing is very profound because they're honest with themselves. So if you find that the true answer to that question is no, please just allow yourself to sit here, eyes closed, as an observer, witness, and we will definitely honor that for you. On the other hand, there may be a fear about allowing healing to occur because it's familiar, it's been here for a long time. There could be the question of the unknown, what happens? There could be secondary gains, as we mentioned before, that are part of the resistance. But I'm asking you if you're willing to allow healing to occur, meaning that you have a choice. You can say, even though I'm uncertain, even though there may be fear, I'm still willing to allow it to occur. So that's a second choice for you. And finally, the third choice is, since you're here, and if you're not clear and you're not willing, you can choose to work with the resistance itself as the issue. In other words, why not allow healing to occur and make that the issue? So you have three choices, three options, and I'll mention in the process that if you're not clear, you know what the options are for this process here. At another time in the process, I'll ask you what it is that you really, really want to feel. You'll recognize this phrase in the course of the process. What it is that you really, really want to feel. Now, we all have what I call life force energies that are like our energetic fingerprints. They're unique to us. Each of us here has a combination of these unique life force energies. We're all at the highest level of being, we're all unified, we're all one, we're all without distinction. But as we come into form, there are distinctions, and there are energetic distinctions. So what are the life force energies that are a combination for us? Well, the base life force energies are a feeling or a desire to feel safe and secure, to feel alive, to feel vital. Another one is to feel pleasure, to be creative. Another one is to feel a sense of empowerment, that I can manifest, I can make a difference. Another one is a sense of belonging, connectedness, love. Another one is a sense of joy. I want to feel joy. I want to feel abundance, prosperity, some form of success that is an expression of who I am. Another one is to know who I am, and another one is to be who I am. And when I am who I am, I feel a sense of freedom and a sense of peace. So these are the life force energies that I'll refer to in the course of the process as we go ahead and do it. Now, as I started doing the work, I came to realize what some of the veils are that obscure our inner light, the inner light of awareness that's our true nature, our loving, aware presence. What are some of the veils? This is the unconscious identification of our mind-made self with our thoughts, our feelings, our sense perceptions, our treasured wounds, our blockages, a variety of emotions that we have that we identify with as if they are who we are, and very importantly, beliefs that we have, deep-seated beliefs that we have about who we are. Our story is another part of that. Our cherished stories, our judgments about ourself and others. These are all blockages. All blockages. Desires even, and aversions that come not from the core of our being, but from a sense that I'm not okay. So I have to, in other words, I don't have within me my own, I'm not in touch with my own loving essence. So I have to get love from outside of myself, or I have to pretend to be someone other than who I am so that I can be loved or get love. So this is an example now of some of the belief systems. And some of these belief systems, amazingly, go back to the womb. When you were a fetus in your mother's womb, how your mother felt at that time had a tremendous impact on you. How your father felt had an impact on you. I'm not just talking now, there's a lot of solid research behind this. Now, when you feel a sense, even as a fetus, of separation, and you don't even know why, it's unconscious, it's an unconscious identification with the mind-made self of your mother, or even your society at that time. When you have this, these feelings of separation, they come through as a diffuse anxiety or fear, and sometimes it comes up instead of fear as anger or sadness or depression. And what this does is it creates a constant stress in the body. Now, stress was designed to help you for fight and flight, so you can escape when you have a problem or fight when you need to for survival. But when there's this continual chronic stress, it releases high levels of cortisol and adrenaline And we now know from the new science of epigenetics that these hormones act as signals when they attach to the receptors of our cells that release activators of our genes. We have genes that just sit dormantly, passively, and are never activated for our entire lives. But they can be activated by different circumstances. And when these genes are activated by the stress, the anxiety, the fear, the anger, it can manifest as cancer, as heart disease, as hypertension, as autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes. So that's how it works. And that's why we're doing this process here, so we can release this. So I think we're ready now. Yeah, and then we'll take a break. It'll be about half an hour, this process. So get yourself comfortable, uncross your legs. Please recall once again the issue that you're choosing to work with. Thank you. The issue that you're choosing to work with. Remember that it's not the outcome that we're after. Okay. So if you would, just close your eyes. And once again, just allow yourself to begin to relax. And become aware of your breathing. And as you're relaxing, I'm going to ask you a question. And just please answer it as honestly as you can. Are you really, really willing to allow healing to occur now? And if not, you have a number of options that you're aware of, and you can certainly just be here, relaxed with your eyes closed, as the aware observer. And if the answer is yes, then continue to relax, breathing in and out. And now, bring to mind the answer to the first question. What is it that you're wanting to change and heal? Bring to mind the issue, the problem, the symptom, the circumstance. And hold it in mind as a thought, feeling, sensation, incident, any or all of these. And while you're holding this in mind now, take in a deep breath And as you slowly release your breath, just notice where in your body your attention is being drawn. Because whatever you hold in mind has a representation in your body. Feel free to take in another deep breath. And just notice where in your body your attention is being drawn. Just notice that. If it's drawn to more than one place, focus on the one that has the most energy or intensity right now. They're all connected, so it doesn't really matter that much. And you may notice that your attention was not drawn to your entire body, but to a particular area. So that means it must have a border, a boundary. It must have a shape or a form. As best you can, describe to yourself the approximate shape, form, and any other qualities associated with it. Is it lighter or darker than the surrounding area, or about the same? Does it have color associated with it? Does it look like a familiar object? We'll call this the original form. We'll call this the original form, and the place that it's located we'll call the original site. So we'll call this the original form in the original site. In a moment, not now, but in a moment, I'll ask you to draw a deep breath in through the original form up into your head, and then release your breath from your head back into the original form, and follow your breath with your mind, so that when you've completely released your breath back into the original form, you find yourself immersed in the very substance of the original form, and I'll just guide you through it step by step, and you just do the best you can. So focusing now on the original form, draw a breath in through the original form, up into your head, slowly releasing your breath from your head back into the form and following it with your mind, so that you sense or imagine yourself inside, feel yourself inside the original form as best you can. If you're having any difficulty entering the form, imagine what it would be like if you were in the original form. And while inside here now, what's coming up for you? What are you feeling? What's happening? And what emotions are starting to surface inside here? What deeper emotions are coming up for you inside here? As best you can, just allow yourself to feel deeper emotions that may be arising in here. If you're not feeling deeper emotions, just imagine what you might feel inside this form, given how it was created. This is not the first time that you're feeling these feelings. This is not the first time that you're feeling these feelings. So while still in this form, take in a deep breath, hold it for a moment, and allow yourself to go back to the earliest time you can recall feeling similar feelings. May have been when you were very young, may have been just before birth, during birth, prior to birth. Just go back to an earlier significant time or incident when you were feeling these feelings. And what are you feeling at this time? How old are you? Where are you? Is there anyone else present? What's happening? And while you're feeling these feelings, while you're experiencing what you're experiencing, what are you coming to believe? What are you coming to believe about yourself? And how have you decided to behave, to deal with this feeling and these feelings? What did you come to believe about others? What did you come to believe about the world? So this is what you were feeling. This is what you came to believe. This is what you decided. Yet deep, deep down inside, underneath these feelings, what is it that you always truly wanted to feel? What were the life force energies that you've always wanted to feel? And when you feel this feeling that you've always wanted to feel, what other feelings just spontaneously bubble up to the surface? What other feeling? And when you're feeling these feelings, what other feelings spontaneously arise? Good. In a moment, I'll ask you to take in a deep breath. And as you release your breath, allow your intuitive mind to spontaneously bring forth something that represents or symbolizes these life force energies. This image or symbol already exists. You don't have to create it. You just empty your mind and allow it to spontaneously appear. And I'll just guide you through it step by step. So once again, feeling these feelings that you've always wanted to feel, these life force energies. Take in a deep breath, hold your breath for a moment, and as you slowly release your breath, just allow the intuitive part of your mind to spontaneously bring forth something that represents, symbolizes, or is an image of these wonderful feelings. And take whatever you get without editing or interpreting it, And we'll call this symbol or image the new image. We'll call this the new image. Good. Now, in a moment, I'll ask you to take in another deep breath, and this time, as you breathe in, withdraw your mind from inside the original form and take with you the new image. And as you release your breath, just sense or imagine the original form in its original site, and then hovering above it, outside your skin, sense or imagine the new image. And I'll just guide you through it step by step. So now, take in a deep breath and withdraw your mind from inside the original form, taking with you the new image. Slowly releasing your breath, sensing the original form, its original site, and the new image hovering above it. And then just focus your attention once again on the original form and the original site. And silently ask the original form, what it considers its function to have been all these years. How does it see itself as having served your needs all these years of being here? Just ask it. Don't have to create an answer for it. If nothing comes, that's fine. But just listen. How does it see itself as having served your needs all these years? What does it consider its function to have been? Let it know that you're beginning to understand why it came into being. Let it know that you now know that given the consciousness available to it at the time that it was created, it did the best that it could. It did the best that it could. Let it know that you also know that what it always wanted for you, but just didn't know how to provide, was symbolized by this beautiful new image hovering above it, which represents its mature form. What it always wanted for you were these life force energies, but it didn't know how to provide that, so it did the best that it could. It did the best that it could. So let it know that in a moment it will be time for it to release its form, to return once again to the unmanifest realm. It knows what that means. Become universal energy once again, some of which becomes absorbed in the new image. The new image that represents a whole new system of inner guidance to take its place. A system of inner guidance based on these life force energies. So now, focusing on the original form and the original site, with a compassion and great firmness, draw a deep breath in through the original form and the original site, and forcefully release your breath through this whole area, dissipating the original form. 2 more times. Deep breath, hold it, and release. And once again. And let it go into the unmanifest realm. Good. And now, once again, focusing on the new image. Just silently ask it if it has anything it wants to say to you at this time. It may or may not. Just ask. And now ask this new image if it is willing to enter into a sacred agreement with you. Ask it if it is willing to whisper into your awareness through your thoughts and your feelings and your senses to remind you on a day-to-day basis, on the inner and outer planes, that you have a whole new system of inner guidance instilled within, that it will appear to you as needed. Just ask it if it is willing to enter into the sacred agreement with you. Good. And now for your part of the sacred agreement, do you agree to be sensitive to its whispers into your awareness? Good. And so, the sacred agreement between you and your essential nature is sealed. Focusing on the new image now. With your next breath, just gently draw it into the area vacated by the original form and feel its energy radiating throughout this entire area. Just gently drawing it into this area with your next breath. And now another breath in through this area, and this time as you release your breath, feel the energy radiating throughout your entire body. The top of your head to the tips of your toes. And now another deep breath in through this area. And this time as you release your breath, feel the energy expanding beyond your physical body, through the energy body surrounding your physical body, out into space, beyond space into infinity, just at one with all that is. Just at one with all that is. While in this peaceful space, just allow yourself to begin to feel in the center of your chest a sense of complete and total, boundless, infinite love that you have for yourself, that you have for every cell, for every organ, for every atom in your body, that you have for your entire being. Just pure, total, boundless, infinite love. This is a love with no judgments, no comparisons. A love without qualification or condition or reservation. Beyond all time and space. A love even beyond understanding. Just pure, total, boundless, infinite love. And with your next breath, just allow it to expand to fill your entire chest cavity full of loving light. Allowing it to move up into your shoulders, down your arms, into your fingertips. Allowing it to move up into your neck and into your head. Just filling your entire head with loving light. Just filling your entire head, so much so that it begins to flow out the top of your head like a fountain of loving light. Just a fountain of loving light cascading down, around, and through your body, just flowing through your body and out through the bottoms of your feet into the earth below. Just a fountain of loving light, flowing, clearing, dissolving, releasing the illusion of separation. Just a fountain of loving light. And now just allow yourself to begin to feel the exquisite love of your essential nature. This is a love that, like the sun, is ever present, ever present. Like the sun that's sometimes obscured by clouds. Your essential nature is sometimes veiled. By identification with the mind-made self. But like the sun that patiently waits for the clouds to part, like the sun that patiently waits for the earth to rotate out of darkness into its light again, this exquisite love patiently waits for you, its expression in form, to ask, to open, to receive its love. And so, a love beyond earning, a love beyond learning, a love ever present. Just allow yourself to feel this exquisite love suffusing your entire body from the top of your head to the tips of your toes until your body glows with this exquisite love. Now, silently ask this exquisite love to heal what needs to be healed, to do what needs to be done, to bring me into wholeness so that we, form and essence, are one. Heal what needs to be healed. Do what needs to be done. Bring me into wholeness so that we are one again. So that we are one again. And it is done. You are one. Always, eternally, infinitely, only one. Now, take a deep breath in through the center of your chest, your heart space. Hold it for a moment, and when you release your breath, send a burst of light from the center of your chest to every cell, every atom in your body. So they sparkle like stars on a brilliant night, and let it go. From stardust to stardust. So I'm going to pass around this handout, and I'd like you to put down over here the new image and the new system of guidance, the Lifeforce Energies that came up for you before you forget, and then we're ready to take a break. Pass these around, yeah. And, maybe Anita. I don't know if you get it to people fast. So you'll see the healing image, which is the new healing image, and then the new system of guidance, and we'll discuss how to use these healing tools that you came up with during the tracing process. Okay. So we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 20 or 25 minutes after. We can take a 15-minute break, actually, and we'll go over how to apply this new system of guidance to your life. And then we'll have time for questions at that time. So again, thank you very much.
You know what this is?
Okay. Well, I was curious, how many people got a new healing image in the group? Just, okay, good. What are some of the images that you got? You can just call, oh, hi. You can just call out.
Sunflower.
Sunflower, okay, wonderful, wonderful. Some of the other,
I got something that it was like a ray or a fan, and then it turned more into like a flower, like the center. And I kept seeing it even more like a flower.
like a flower, okay.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking you this is because sometimes it's necessary for you to globalize your healing image. If it's too specific, like, you know, your Aunt Mamie's handkerchief and she died 25 years ago, the chance of your seeing that image is very slim unless you see it exclusively on the inner planes. And you've made an agreement with your essential nature that it will appear to you and help you in your guidance on a day-to-day basis in this reality right here. So sometimes we need to globalize it. So in your case, it could be a flower. You know, if we globalize. Anybody else have an image that's very, very specific and that needs some help with globalizing it? No? You think that also if there are colors, you can use colors, and when you see colors, that's another thing as well. Now, how to use this? You've made an agreement with your essential nature that it will appear to you. So when your image appears to you in your day-to-day life or on the inner planes, you might stop and just say to yourself and ask yourself, and it's all this information is on here. What am I thinking, feeling, and doing right at this moment? Is it in alignment with my new system of guidance, or am I operating from my past conditioning? And that's the question that you ask yourself. And if you're operating from your past conditioning, I call that a red light, or depending on what you're doing, or a yellow light. Most of the time you may get what I call a green light. Bravo, you're in alignment. Wonderful. So that's one way to use this new system of guidance. Now, as a healing tool, one of the things that you want to do is to work with this new system of guidance even before you may need it, or for those of you who do need it, here's how you'll do it. You'll bring these feelings associated with the new system of guidance into your heart and feel each feeling. And then you want to imbue your healing image with these feelings. You want to imbue the healing image with these feelings. But in order to do that, you can't just repeat the words. I suggest that you create a mnemonic or an acronym for these feelings so that you really remember each of these feelings. These are feelings that represent for you uniquely what you could say your soul wants to feel at this time in your life, and that's why it came through. It was not an accident. So if you can remember each one of these feelings and then feel each one of these feelings, you bring it into your heart. You identify an area of your body-mind that's calling for love, attention, and healing. You bring your healing image into your heart and feel each of the feelings associated with it, and then take a deep breath, hold it, and release that feeling-filled image into the area that's calling for love, attention, and healing. And that's how you use your healing image for self-healing. And again, it's all spelled out over here. And then in order to really make this effective, it's important for you to know that for the next 3 weeks you're in training. It takes about 3 weeks to recanalize your nervous system so that this becomes automatic. It's like learning how to drive a stick shift. It takes you about 3 weeks, or break a habit. If you're smoking or drinking, it takes about 3 weeks to break a habit. And it takes about 3 weeks to make a habit. So you want to make this a habit. You want this to become automatic. You want to go from a stick shift that you have to think about every time you shift to something that just happens automatically. So you want to bring these feelings 3 times a day, in the morning, sometime in the middle of the day, and at night. You want to bring these feelings into your heart, feel these feelings, and then release these feelings and just irradiate your body with these feelings 3 times a day for 3 weeks. And it says that on the front here. You remember that you're in training for 3 weeks. You thought you came here for one night. You didn't know you were signing up for a 3-week program. But anyway, that's what happens. And now, since for many of you, one of the feelings was associated in one way or another with love or connectedness or a sense of unity, perhaps tonight, when you leave, you just ask yourself, what's the most loving thing for me to do for myself right now? Nobody else may benefit, but what's most loving for me to do? What's most loving for me to have? There's a difference. Doing is an action. Having is like getting something or a gift or something. Giving yourself a gift. And it doesn't matter what it is, and it can be the simplest thing. What's important is the motivation is love for yourself, and then manifesting that on the physical plane. And then what's the most loving way for me to be for myself right now? So those are the questions. You have to ask and answer those from your heart. That's the only real prerequisite for it. So that's how to use this. Now, a lot of people, of course, when they leave, they go out into the busy world again and they forget about this. It was nice, it was a short experience, but to make it really meaningful, you need to really hold this for 3 weeks in terms of making a difference in terms of the healing. Sometimes the healing can occur instantly like that, but sometimes it takes that period of time. Your intentionality is very powerful. I did a lot of research when I was in practice in the Bay Area at a number of universities. I worked with cancer cells. In tissue culture, I worked with DNA, was able to change the molecular formulation, the configuration of it, the growth rate of cancer cells grown in tissue culture, or stimulating the growth rate or inhibiting the growth rate, depending on the intentionality. Worked with water, was able to change a lot of the physical qualities of water, the acidity of the water, the surface tension, the spectrophotometric pattern of water, the angle between the oxygen and 2 hydrogen bonds, and so on. So when you focus with intention from a heartful place, you really can change living and non-living systems. And we do this in the seminars that I give all the time with wine and oranges. We actually put energy into oranges and extract energy from the oranges. We taste the difference. We measure the field of the oranges before we put energy in, after energy, then we extract energy and measure it so we can taste and smell the difference. So your intentionality, your heart-focused intentionality, has an enormous impact on your own body, and if you're interested in doing healing work with others, enormous impact on others. And again, these are things that we can demonstrate, and it's everyone's birthright. It's not like you have to really, you're special and only special people can do it. Some people have a more natural talent for it, just as people who have a more natural talent for playing an instrument. But if somebody doesn't have as much of a natural talent, but they're persistent and they're really strong and focused on what they want to do, amazing things can happen. You can overcome lack of innate talent through strong intentionality and focus. So now I'm ready to answer any questions. Yes?
When you were doing some of the testing, did you ever do it long distance as well as just focusing close by? I mean, did you see any difference between long distance and just being right next to the object you were intentioning?
Yeah, well, there's proximate healing and there's distant healing. And sure, we did a variety of distant healings. There was one healing process which we do in the seminar called the Transpersonal Alignment process. And you work with a partner and you connect heart to heart and soul to soul, and you embrace that person with wings of light. And then it's a guided meditation along the lines of what we did here. And since loving awareness is your inherent nature, you don't have to do anything to be who you really are. It's all that's necessary is that you learn how to evoke it and then to transfer it to the person who's sitting in front of you in a transpersonal way, not in a personal way, but a transpersonal way. And then you learn how to do that. And one fellow took a workshop of mine, and his mother had ovarian cancer, and she lived in Lincoln, Nebraska. He was in Washington State, and she wasn't responding to chemotherapy. And her doctors were going to put her on a much more toxic combination of chemo. So they stopped the chemo that she was getting, and during that week that they stopped it, he sent her loving energy via this transpersonal alignment process. And then the doctors repeated her CA-125, which is a blood test for ovarian cancer, and it had dropped like 100 points, which they had never seen before, taking somebody off chemo. And he hadn't told his mother what he was doing even. So there wasn't even a placebo effect involved. And then she reported that to him, and he told her then what he had done. And I actually got a letter from the doctor. So that's just one of many, many examples. Then we do a lot of other things. Yeah, we have, we take two people who, we evaluate their energy fields. We have a third person who evaluates the field using dowsing rods, which we're going to be learning in April. And then we send the three of them outside, and they walk in different directions, the dowser and the two people who are just volunteers. And then as a group, we decide which of the two people, the subjects, whose fields we already measured and put on the board, which of them seems to need the most love at this time. And so the group selects this one person, imagines them in the center of a circle, which we call a coherent heart circle. Put them in the center of this circle, and we send this loving energy to this person in the center of the circle. And then we call them back in, and we ask the dowser, who doesn't know, they don't know what the experiment was, to evaluate the field. And you know, the person who we sent the love to, that field was 4 times greater than it was before. And the other person's field maybe expanded 1 time more or something. That's it, you know. And the person who had the love sent very, very frequently says, I just felt this wave, this wish, and I just felt lifted like on wings of light, and many, many, you know, anecdotal stories about that. And so it's very real, and we also do that with wine. We'll put wine in a decanter, put it in another room, have everybody focus on it, and compare it to wine in a different decanter, both from the same bottle, but a different shaped decanter. And the wine that we sent the love to in the other room, charged, tastes different, it's just mellow, it's very mature, and it's a wonderful bouquet, and the other one is, you know, whatever it was when it came out of the bottle. Usually I get a cheap bottle of wine. I don't get a good one. I did that once with a very good bottle of wine when I gave a seminar in France. It was a great wine, and the person who was taking the workshop was very proud of it. She came from Burgundy, and we were having lunch outside, and they said, let's charge it, go ahead and charge it, and charged it, and it became vinegar.
Oh.
Because so when you have a very good wine, you don't do it.
Don't bother with it.
Yeah. So you see, the loving energy that we're feeling is beyond time, space. It's non-local, and you can also use it proximately. You can use your hands, and that brings in the electromagnetic components that are measurable, and then there are the subtle energy components, which are non-local and yet are very well documented these days by the new physics. So is there another question?
Well,
Yes.
I think you might have answered it with those other descriptions you just went through. But my question was, is it important to be able to trace, like in the process you took us through, trace it all the way back to the first time that you remember this?
No, it isn't, and that's why I was mentioning to you the holographic nature of everything. If you have just a part of it, you have access to the whole. And if you change any part, you change the whole.
Yeah.
And so the answer, of course, is no. But when we do the process, we have the intention of getting back as far as you can. But the important thing is that you feel the feeling at a vibratory level, because everything in its essence is in a wave form when it's non-local, and so rather than a particulate form. So we get to that feeling state, and that's the key that resonates back to the source, whether it comes up to conscious awareness or not. That doesn't matter that much. Yeah. And the real healing takes place in the end of the process, the unconditional love process. Heal what needs to be healed, do what needs to be done. Bring me into wholeness. The ultimate healing is healing into wholeness, because you can work with the form and you can heal the form. We all enjoy that while we're here. But ultimately, you want to return home to who you really are, to awareness itself. Yeah. So, any other questions? Yes?
I was having an odd experience. So when and yet I kept checking to make sure I was tuned into your voice and the music and stuff. I was like totally inert and able to do anything more than just keep slumping, And then when you came with the idea of, the healing image, and I think you also mentioned intuition at that point, as soon as you paused and was to allow it in, I had this rather negative thing come in, and it was like, it disturbed that inert feeling, and I didn't know what to do with it because it just seemed bizarre. So I don't know if...
Are you saying you had a negative...
It wouldn't come to me as a very healing image. If I were to
the
try
healing
and keep
image.
that feeling.
Okay.
It was a whip, like you would use on horses.
Yeah.
And, I could get no positive connotation from it, and I was just in such a state of inertia that I couldn't even work it into.
Okay. Well, there's a great wisdom to the images that you receive. Like you didn't say, I think I'll think about a whip. It came. So there's a great wisdom to that. And of course, one of the things that happens with a whip is it's a stimulus. I mean, we think of it associated with punishment, But, you know, in Congress, although I shouldn't necessarily mention Congress, there is the majority whip, you know, and I or she doesn't regard it as negative, I don't think, because they don't want to be caught. But they do get things happening. So for you, that image it depends on how you interpret it, because everything depends on your interpretation or point of view. I would regard it as very positive, you know, as something like a stimulus. Your soul is providing you with some kind of a fillip or stimulus for action in some way or some motivation. I see it as a motivator. So I think it's very positive. Yeah. You have to trust that where it came from is very positive. Definitely trust that. And you had a question.
Yeah, there's a lot in the New Age literature these days about the importance of DNA in human evolution. Can you talk a little bit about your experiments with that and love and how that changes DNA?
Yes. I have a whole presentation on that, actually. We started focusing on DNA after we did work with the cancer cells that growing in tissue culture, because the way that we measured the growth of cancer cells is we'd used, and this is at a major university, radioactive thymidine, which is one of the 4 bases that makes up DNA. And we measured the uptake of radioactive thymidine in the nucleus of the cancer cells, and that's how, if we focused on the cancer cell, the important thing that I discovered in the research that I did, which I think is of value to you, is that what made the intention work is that I had to focus on whatever the object of my attention was. I had to focus on it with love. And that was the key discovery for me. That's the takeaway. I first started doing that with bacteria. I looked at the bacteria under a microscope in a petri dish. This was bacteria that causes dysentery in humans, Salmonella typhimurium. And I looked at it, and suddenly I had this awareness that it was created by the same creator that created me. And it had the same right to exist that I did. It's just from my perspective as a human that I had distortion about its existence. And as soon as I realized that it had the same right to exist that I did, our creator was one and the same, something shifted for me. And I looked at that, and I accepted its existence. And when I totally accepted its existence, unconditionally, that's another way of talking about love. Because if you are totally accepted for exactly who you are, what you feel is love. When you feel unconditionally accepted, what you feel is love. And so that connection, what happened in effect was all the distortions, perspectives, human perspectives, dissolved in that moment, and my awareness became one with the vibrational signature of the bacteria. So my awareness began to vibrate at the same frequency as the vibratory signature of that bacteria. In effect, it was like 2 tuning forks vibrating at the same frequency. And when 2 tuning forks are vibrating at the same frequency, when I change one, the other immediately changes. Because we're entrained. That's one of the phenomena of resonance is called entrainment. So my awareness became entrained with that. We became one. And what I discovered was, then, if you introduce an intention in an entrained state of resonance, that intention has tremendous amplification and power. In addition to that, when you're feeling that unconditioned acceptance, there's a dramatic shift in the electrophysiology of your body. The vibratory frequencies of your heart become what's called coherent. They come into phase and frequencies start to group together. Again, I have a whole presentation on this. So you become, in effect, a human laser. Your energy is squared compared to any other feeling that you have other than true, genuine love, unconditioned love. So your energy is dramatically amplified, you're unified, and you introduce the intention in that field. And that's why the book I wrote, it's called Healing with Love. And this is how healing with love works. You become one with what you want to change. My intention working with the bacteria was not to kill it, because it had a right to exist. I just wanted to reduce its growth rate. When you reduce its growth rate in the body significantly enough, then the body's immune system takes over and does its thing. So that was what my purpose was there. And I did the same thing with the cancer cells, and I connected with them, and I could stimulate their growth if I wanted to, or reduce their growth, using different kinds of intentions. One intention was a thought intention. Another one was an image intention. In other words, holding an image of what I wanted, called visualization. And then I compared the difference between visualization and thought and wanted to see what happens. They each produced 20% inhibition of growth relative to controls. And then when I did both together, it was 40%. So if you add imagery to thought intention, it really it amplifies the end result over there. Well, we've got a few more minutes. Any other questions? Yes, and then I'll get to you in a moment. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, when you deal with your intention, I mean, when you talked about the man who was giving love to his mother, was he giving love to his mother, or was he specifically looking at the cancer? In other words,
he wasn't looking specifically at the cancer.
It's just, it's a general thing, but do you do that sort of thing?
You can also do an intention.
Okay.
Yeah. You can also do an intention.
And
He
then
was
he gets
asking
that
for
wiser-
the highest good for his mother and
Okay.
healing for his mother,
okay.
but it wasn't specific
Okay,
in his case.
okay.
He was saying, for her highest good,
That's interesting.
allow her to be fully healed and so on. And
Well,
that's what he
doesn't
was
the
doing.
person also have to get involved sometimes?
Yeah,
in all
because
this?
he was sending it to, that's a good question. He was sending it to her transpersonally. When we do this process with two people, we ask them before we begin the process to ask permission. Do I have permission to work with you, and are you willing to receive love? But what I found is, if you can send unconditioned love to the person, you don't need permission. Because unconditioned means unconditioned. There's no agenda. There's no giving to get. It's unconditioned. And then that person receives it at levels beyond their mind, because the mind could even say, I don't deserve love. That's part of what may have produced an illness to begin with. But if it's sent to that person's, the higher aspects of that person's awareness, then they can use that in a way that infuses the body, and it can even transcend those unconscious beliefs, the veils that we talked about. But if it's really unconditioned. Otherwise, a lot of people have, this person is ill, I'm going to send healing energy, I'd like to see them better, not knowing what's behind that illness. And what there's maybe a greater purpose. There's a lot going on that doesn't necessarily meet the obvious eye here. So the best you can do in some of those circumstances is to send unconditioned love. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Oh, I was just curious if therapeutic touch healing or Reiki healing can be measured.
Sure. We had, I had a Reiki master who was teaching all over Asia come to one of my workshops, and we charged wine together. And he used the holoenergetic technique, and he used the Reiki technique. So it was one person, and compared it to a control. And the holoenergetic technique made a much greater difference in terms of the change in the taste and the bouquet and in the energy field than the Reiki. And so that convinced him. But he had to do both. If I did one and he did one, it wouldn't be a valid experiment. But he did both using the different techniques. And that's not to say that Reiki is not very effective in the right hands and can do work. You know, I think it's a very valid and valuable technique. Yes. Oh, wait, was somebody here? Yeah,
I
I'm
just
sorry. And then I'll come to you.
A real quick one back to the one before. If there's a person that you don't like their behavior or something, it's hard to go unconditional love towards that person, but do you send it towards maybe their higher self? You can feel unconditional love for that part versus, or you just have to kind of like do with what you did with the bacteria and just the whole.
Yeah, and of course that's a very good question. And you made the distinction already between, you know, the higher self, that you can love unconditionally, and the behavior. And one obvious thing is if you have a child that you love unconditionally, this child just keeps running across the street all the time and could get hit by a car, you know, accidents of all sorts can occur. Could you unconditionally love that child and still be firm about changing its behavior? Yeah, you can. So you can unconditionally love someone's essence and still deal with the difficulties in the form. Yeah. Because I had to unconditionally love the bacteria, as you pointed out, and I changed its behavior, its growth rate.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can do that. It's a very interesting and important distinction. Yeah. And the other thing to learn, when you send unconditional love to someone, who do you think receives it first? You get it. You get it first. So, and we measure this. When you measure your field. In fact, if you just really feel it, your field instantly expands. And this is part of what we do in the workshop. We have people feel a feeling, and the person who's measuring it doesn't know what they're feeling. They do, you know, blind testing, and they evaluate the field, and then they see how accurate they are. They do 5 of those, and you can really, it's amazing. You have a thought, you know, of sadness or fear, and your field just collapses. Anger, interestingly enough, is a little more confusing because some people have anger that they turn in and the field collapses, and sometimes they have anger and it's an active anger and the field expands. So anger's a little tricky, but outside of anger, so I generally say other than anger, you know, either feel something loving or fearful or sad and the field just collapses or expands. It's quite amazing to see what happens, because we're not limited by this form, although it appears that way. Yeah. Was there one last question, and then we'll take, we'll end.
Well, a couple things. I'll try to be brief. One is when I found that something that had been really irritating the heck out of me, when I just let go of it and went to actually started joking about it, was being silly about it, or just neutral. I found that a whole multiplicity of options opened up as to how to deal with it. That was one interesting thing. And it was like a friend of mine said years ago, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing too is, well, 2 things, both brief. One is, notice all these hearts.
Yes, I noticed that.
Chained hearts in a little cage.
It was amazing, because here we are talking about healing with love, and we're surrounded by hearts.
In different
On
stages.
Valentine's.
And the other
Valentine's
thing
Day.
is resurrection. About 1981, 82, Ellen Burstyn, Sam Shepard, Eva Le Gallienne. A film that's really, really worth seeing.
That's right. It's an excellent film.
Yes, it's a superb film. And there's one scene in particular where you really talk about embracing. It's where they're trying to do a scientific study of this healer, and there's this woman that's been in a kind of a contorted state all of her life, and what she does, she gets up on the, first she tries something energetic, gets up on the table with her, and literally becomes so in tune with her that she takes on the contortions, and then she lets go of it. That scene alone is worth the price, but the film is superb.
Thank you. Yeah, that's not necessarily the way you want to do it, but that's okay. Okay, so I think we'll call it an evening, and if you want more information about these workshops, and we're doing, again, one here after Dean's workshop next Tuesday, which again I would encourage everyone to come for. And then he and I are going to do one. First time we're working together, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. That's an all-day Saturday. But I know it's very expensive. It's $25 for the day, so that might be a real consideration for you. We're doing it because we just feel like we want to really do something for the community, and that's why we chose to do that. So thank you very much.
Our Vml Resource Center is a volunteer-operated federal 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit organization. Our Vml is dedicated to providing easy access to a comprehensive collection of information on a variety of metaphysical, spiritual, and personal development subjects. Our Vml accepts and appreciates all donations. Material and monetary contributions are fully tax-deductible. This recording is not copyrighted, and permission is granted to broadcast, exhibit, or duplicate all or part of this program for non-commercial educational purposes. This live presentation was organized and presented by the Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library and Event Center. For more information, please visit rvml.org.